Hour. And let's recap again. Can you walk me through the 10 counts that are against Michael Jackson at this point?
Well, assuming the court is on schedule and they don't allow for any sort of delay, at 1:30 Pacific time, there will be an audio feed that we will be able to hear outside the courtroom and broadcast. The judge allowed for this audio feed. We'll hear the court clerk, Lorna Fry, detail each and every count. She'll go starting with count 1, which is conspiracy. She'll say, we, the members of the jury, find that Michael Joe Jackson is guilty or not guilty of conspiracy. And then she will go on. If he is found not guilty, that'll be it. If he is found guilty of conspiracy, she will then detail whether or not he is guilty of child abduction, false imprisonment, or extortion as an arm of that conspiracy charge. Next up will be count 2, and this really will tell us whether or not this jury believes the defense or if they believe this young man who has accused Michael Jackson of molestation. Counts 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all counts of lewd acts on a child. Two of the counts 2 and 3, are alleged by the accuser. Counts 3 and 4 are alleged by the accuser's brother. He says that he saw Michael Jackson with his hand touching his brother one late evening while his brother was sleeping. That accounts for 3 and 4. Count 5 is an attempted commitment of lewd act on a child. And then counts 6, 7, 8, and 9 have to do with alcohol. They are administering alcohol as an agent to further the lewd acts. Jurors have a choice with the alcohol charges. They can either find Michael Jackson not guilty on all counts, or they can find him not guilty of using alcohol to commit molestation, but guilty of providing alcohol to someone who is underage. That is a misdemeanor, and many people think that if this jury finds him not guilty across the board, they may find him guilty of providing alcohol to minors. The sentence there is a year in county jail.
Michael Jackson, guilty or not guilty, the various options before this jury, they've been deliberating now for the past couple of weeks. Jeffrey Toobin is with us here in our Washington studio. You've been watching this trial very closely. Jeffrey, give our viewers a sense right now of the enormity of what is about to happen in the life of Michael Jackson.
Well, I mean, it's really simple, Wolf. You have one of the top, I would say, dozen most famous people in the world who perhaps a half hour from now may be in criminal custody, maybe go into prison. I mean, as Ted Rollins has said earlier, for several of these crimes, if he is convicted, it is very likely that his bail will be revoked if he is convicted, and he will receive a sentence of many years in prison. So Michael Jackson's freedom is not only at stake in some abstract sense, but concretely, he may be in custody before the hour is out.
And so if he is convicted on some of the more serious charges, the felony charges against him, he could be sent to jail right away. He wouldn't necessarily be released on bail as the appeal process begins.
Absolutely not. He will not be released pending appeal. However, his lawyer will argue for him to be released pending an appeal, and I expect a lengthy and passionate argument by Tom Mesereau if Jackson is convicted for granting him bail. But based on the way California law usually operates, given the seriousness of this crime, he will almost certainly be put in custody right away.
Which would be a dramatic change in the lifestyle of this pop star. Clearly something that he is not necessarily going to be able to accept easily, given his lifestyle, given his mentality, given what he's gone through over these years.
And given his physical condition. One of the things that was striking to me, having seen him at the beginning of the trial and at the end of the trial, is how Michael Jackson has physically deteriorated over the course of this trial. Remember, last January was the time that he hopped up on top of that SUV and did a little dance for his fans. Now, whatever you think of that little incident, it took a physically fit man to do it. He is a shell of that man a year and a half later. He walks with difficulty. He seems medicated. His skin is a terrible gray pallor. The deterioration in Michael Jackson has been considerable, and if you think about the possibility of prison, that could...
Looks very tense, as one might imagine, stroking his hair. just waiting for Mr. Jackson to turn up. That convoy is still en route to the court in Santa Maria. We know that the police are standing by to meet that as it comes into the edge of town, and it will then swing past down Miller Street, through East Cook Street, down past the fans and into the courtroom.
Keep throwing it at me. We're ready here. Things have hushed a little bit, but there is an anxiety in the air. Well, you can feel it.
We appreciate you being on standby out there for us, Wendy, and we want to let our viewers know that we are continuing to monitor the audio feed. We will not be allowed to see the actual proceedings inside the courtroom. Cameras are not allowed, but we do have an audio feed, and so as soon as the jury is seated, as soon as those proceedings get underway, you will hear it here as it happens live on
Outriders, he's now...
We can see the vehicles, Jane, turning now into the court.
Yes, they are. I can just see them just coming into the courtroom now. You can see the large number of fans through the fence waiting for him to arrive. Now, he normally arrives, there's usually a short delay as he arrives before he actually gets out of the car. This allows his bodyguard time to go around, open the door for him, help his family out. Usually then the umbrella goes up. Now this, we know, is partly to protect Michael Jackson from the sun. He suffers from vitiligo, a skin problem which makes him very, very susceptible to sunlight, but also we've been told this umbrella is for security reasons. We see Thomas Mesereau leaning forward, greeting his mother, Catherine, hugging her, and his father, Joseph, also there. I'm just straining to see myself from this angle. You can see that the umbrella has now gone up, so we're just expecting Michael Jackson himself to emerge from the darkened windows of that sports utility vehicle. Yes, he's out now and he's walking up. Has he turned around to wave to the fans? I haven't seen that yet. He has, yes, there we go. A wave for the fans. During the latter days of this trial, when his health seemed to be suffering so very, very badly, his daily wave to the fan, his daily recognition of their endless presence here of that court case had stopped. 1 or 2 days he barely managed to raise his hand. He appeared so frail, and that was picked up by the fans. They were very, very concerned about him as a result. They read his mood and they were concerned that he wasn't acknowledging them, but he had time to do that today. He's now going...
Excuse me?
David, do you see Catherine? Do you see Catherine? Do you see Mom? Did we see Mom walk in?
Yes.
And Mom is very important. Catherine has been such a staunch supporter of her son. You see him going through the metal detector right now. Catherine was really here more court days than any other of the family members. Now, the family has been staying at Neverland Ranch, and it's really unprecedented for this family, for them to spend so much time in these later years together. Even Rebe, Jackson's eldest sister, was up at the ranch. I don't know if we see Rebe coming in right now. I was mentioning before, as they're walking through this metal detection, which is going to take some time, that there are 6 seats that the Jackson family members can take. There's obviously more members of his family and more members of his close sort of entourage there than that. They will not be allowed in the courtroom. The court made no special accommodations. We had heard that the Jackson family had actually asked for additional seats so the entire family could be present. What will happen is that members of Michael Jackson's family will go upstairs where they will hear the verdict. So we're assuming that if it's anything like we've seen in the past, I would put money on the fact that Mom and Dad will be in there, both and Catherine. I also believe Randy will be there. Randy is one of Michael's staunchest supporters. He actually runs MJJ Productions. He's really, of all the brothers, perhaps been one of the closest. And, you know, Janet, anytime that she is here, usually has one of those courtroom seats. So we will see the Jackson family, and I think this is to say, has been known at times to have some dysfunction and some falling out, but they certainly have rallied together in the last few weeks and months during this trial.
LaToya Jackson right now is going through the metal detector, and Mesereau is in your foreground kind of blocking her, but that was LaToya Jackson, and there is Mike Jackson's father about to go through as well.
And the mother, Catherine, as Wendy was mentioning, someone who's been you know, by Michael's side through much of this trial. Now she's getting ready to go through
and again,
security
Ellen?
there. She's being...
actually have a pass to get into the courtroom itself. We can just see Michael Jackson now going through that metal detector. He's looking very pale, he's looking very frail. One can only imagine what must be going through his head at this point in time. He'll be thinking, hopefully this is the last time I've got to go through this, and I'll be coming out of this court in the next few minutes a free man. One can imagine that he, very, very, very difficult few moments for him. He looks absolutely exhausted, I have to say. His family have been saying that he's not been sleeping very well, he's not been eating, but he looks worse than he did during the last days of this.
completely unbiased and completely neutral. Some question whether anyone really views Michael Jackson through the lenses of race. Some have said that maybe he transcends race in some sense. He's a pop icon who bridges, who cuts across all those kinds of boundaries and lines of demarcation on the one hand. On the other, if they on any level do see him as an African-American defendant, there's a lot of social science research out there that suggests unconsciously that might have an impact.
He faces today, he could be escorted by the police straight to jail this afternoon.
He absolutely could be, Martin. As you say, if he's acquitted, I don't think he'll stay in that court for very long. There will have to be some legal discussion. They will have to talk about things like Michael Jackson getting back some of the evidence that was used during this case. A lot of the items were taken from Neverland. He understandably wants those back. His defence team will also talk about how to get the $3 million bail money that he's given this court back. But I don't think he'll waste any time in coming out and giving a statement. He's scheduled to make...
Here we go, Jane. This is the audio feed from the court.
Superior Court of the State of California for the County of Santa Barbara, Santa Maria Division. The people of the State of California plaintiff versus Michael Joe Jackson defendant. Case number 1133603. Count 1 verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled case, find the defendant not guilty of conspiracy as charged in count 1 of the indictment, dated June 13, 2005, foreperson number 80. Count 2 verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled case, find the defendant not guilty of a lewd act upon a minor child as charged in count 2 of the indictment, dated June 13, 2005, foreperson number 80. Count 3 verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled case, find the defendant not guilty of a lewd act upon a minor child as charged in count 3 of the indictment, dated June 13, 2005, foreperson number 80. Count 4 verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled case, find the defendant not guilty of lewd act upon a minor child as charged in count 4 of the indictment, dated June 10, 2005, foreperson number 80. Count 5 verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled case, find the defendant not guilty of a lewd act upon a minor child as charged in count 5 of the indictment, dated June 10, 2005, foreperson number 8. Count 6 verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled case, find the defendant not guilty of attempting to commit a lewd act upon a minor child as charged in count 6 of the indictment, dated June 13, 2005, foreperson number 80.
There are only
Count
the
7
counts
verdict.
now
We,
remaining
the jury, in the above
concerning the
entitled case,
alcohol.
find the defendant not guilty of administering an intoxicating agent to assist in the commission of a felony as charged in count 7 of the indictment, dated June 13, 2005, foreperson number 80. Count 7 verdict, lesser offense. We, the jury, in the above entitled case, find the defendant not guilty of providing alcoholic beverages to persons under the age of 21, a lesser included offense of that charge in count 7 of the indictment, dated June 13, 2005, foreperson number 80. Count 8 verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled case, find the defendant not guilty of administering an intoxicating agent to assist in the commission of a felony as charged in count 8 of the indictment, dated June 13, 2005, foreperson number 8. Count 9 verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled case, find the defendant not guilty of administering an intoxicating agent to assist in the commission of a felony as charged in count 9 of the indictment, dated June 10, 2005, foreperson number 80. Count 10 verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled case, find the defendant not guilty of administering an intoxicating agent to assist in the commission of a felony as charged in count 10 of the indictment, dated June 10, 2005, foreperson number 80.
And with that, the audio feed from the court is cut. Michael Jackson is a free man. He is acquitted on every count. Jane Secker.
This is the end of the nightmare for Michael Jackson. There have been rumours surrounding his relationship with young boys for the last 10 years. Throughout it all, he has protested his innocence. His fans have protested his innocence. He is going to walk away from this court vindicated, as he always said he would. This must have been the most hideous ordeal for Michael Jackson over the last 4 months, over the last 2 years since these allegations began. But he's been vindicated of all charges in this court. The jurors taken 7 days to find him not guilty of all 10 charges, as well as the 10 lesser charges of giving alcohol to a minor. As you said, this came down to whose word this jury believed. Did they believe the words of Michael Jackson? Did they believe the words of Gavin Alviso? It appears that they believed the words of Michael Jackson, even though the singer never took the witness stand.
And when you say prosecutors lose them, give us a specific. What did the prosecutor do wrong in this particular case? Here he is, Michael Jackson. Here he is. Michael Jackson is walking out of the courtroom right now. We see him. There's a little bit of a smile there. I suppose he's as stunned as a lot of other people are, surrounded by his father and his sister and other family members walking out. No visible emotion there, Jeffrey. Did you see some visible emotion on his face?
Not at that moment. He did look stunned and exhausted, and much like he has throughout the trial, just drained and physically ill, frankly.
And we see his attorney, criminal defense attorney, the white-haired man, Thomas Mesereau, walking out. There's the family. Let's listen in to see if we can hear anything.
Mr. Mesereau.
I'm having a hard time hearing you, but I think you asked me to describe what happened inside the courtroom. I'll tell you, reporters sitting on the edge of their seats on pins and needles awaiting this verdict, as everyone else in the world. But the jurors walked in, and I watched every single one of them walk into the courtroom. Not one looked at Michael Jackson. They walked in, they sat down. You could tell that it's been a very emotional time. Usually this has been a very happy, chatty jury. They walked in, sat down, they took their seats, not looking at Michael Jackson. Again, an across-the-board acquittal. I sat there, and as the verdict was read, not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, just circling all of these counts here. I will say that Michael Jackson came into the courtroom looking very grim. Just looking straight ahead as he walked. He took his seat. As the verdicts were read, he showed no emotion. He sat there, still, not moving. Very much like what he's done throughout this trial. He had tissue. I could see him blotting his face, but no movement. When it was all over, he stood up. Tom Mesereau was there. They embraced each other. All of the defense attorneys shaking each other's hands. Obviously, this is a great day for Michael Jackson's defense team, particularly Tom Mesereau. Michael Jackson appeared to be a little more emotional towards the end, walking out of the courtroom, had some tears in his eyes. But again, just I don't know if it's set in that he's a free man. When he leaves, he's left court already. He is a free man. The judge thanking the jury, telling the jury that he appreciates all of their efforts. I will tell you that after the verdicts were read, the jury was incredibly emotional. A couple of jurors breaking into tears because it's a huge relief for them. I mean, for months. It's gone on to 4 months, which is shorter than we thought it would be. We thought this trial would take about...
We're going now across to the press conference where members of the jury are about to give their statement to the media, so we'll hopefully be joining that now.
Okay, in the second row, please.
148.
Good afternoon. My name is Salvador Duran. I'm with Telemundo, Channel 52, Los Angeles. I would like to find out if the fact that Michael Jackson is an international superstar, what role did that play in your decision-making? And I would also like to ask Mr. Foreman if any of you speak Spanish, to also, after you answer my question, to briefly make a statement in Spanish to for the large Spanish audience across the United States.
Well, personally, I think we looked at all the evidence. We looked at Michael Jackson, and one of the first things we decided that we had to look at him as just like any other individual, not just as a celebrity. And once we got that established, that we could go beyond that, we were able to deal with it just as fairly as we could with anybody else.
But after deliberating for as long as we did, and motions everybody goes through, and just everything, it just realize that it's done and it's over, and that we all can now go on with our lives.